Good afternoon, everybody. So we are getting started now with the area of circles. So we talked about circles in general. We talked about circumference, and now we're talking about the area of a circle. So if you'll remember, the circumference is just the space around. So if I was to put a string on this line, area, as always, is the full inside. Okay. And because of that, all measurements are going to be squared, square feet, square meters, because we're talking about an area that you could tile. If you imagine tile in your home, um, that's what it could look like. Okay. So area by definition is the space within the boundaries of a 2D figure. Okay, there's your circumference, and the area is all of the space within those boundaries. Now, the formula for the area of a circle, area is pi times radius squared. Okay, and again for pi, we're going to use 3.14 or 22/7 as requested. Okay, and we've talked previously, we're just not going to use the pi button. It's too many digits of pi, and we won't be consistent in our answers. It's not wrong, it's not bad, but your answer won't match what's being asked for. So if you are asked to use these, please do. All right. So now we're just working with formulas. And honestly, one of the things I want you to get most out of this geometry unit that we're doing, whether we were doing Pythagorean theorem before, we're doing area now, if you are given a formula and you are given the pieces that make up that formula, you should be able then to use the formula, even if it's a new formula to you. The skill of how to use a formula is going to serve you in math, in chemistry, in finance, in so many things going forward. It's literally a recipe within math. Okay. And so instead of making something fancy and creative, we're just following the directions and making the delicious brownies. Okay. And that is what a formula gives us. Now, in this example, the distance from the epicenter of the earthquake, so I'm going to call that epicenter, to the edge of the noticed shaking, okay, was 134 miles. What was the area affected by the earthquake? This seems like a thing people would want to know. Okay, so if my formula is area equals pi r squared, okay, area is still capital A. For pi, I'm going to use 3.14 just because it works so well with calculators, and they didn't say which one to use. Hint, if they ever tell you to use the fraction, use it. It's when it's appropriate and actually saves you time and space. Okay, 3.14 times 134 squared. But if I'm already squaring this number, I'm pretty sure I'm using a calculator. Okay, so 134, and I'm going to actually show you some calculator tools while we're at it. I typed in 134, and on my calculator, it's the x squared button right here. This is probably my favorite kind of calculator for the price. 17,956. So area 3.14 times 17,956. Now, if you did not already know this, here's a new thing to learn today. Once that number's sitting in your calculator, just hit times, 3.14 equals, and there you go. Area equals 5638, and notice I'm not giving this value yet, 1.84. Okay, and all they asked for was the area. Typically, you could leave it here in the hundredths place. You could round it to the nearest mile because we're dealing with miles. Okay, so this is where we start to look at what do the directions say. But because I wasn't given anything and it's not a giant decimal, I'm going to say 56,381.84 square miles. Okay. If I was writing this, say, in a newspaper article, 56,382 square miles. I would save myself that little bit of digital space because that is such a good rounding number. Okay, that's a lot of area affected by this earthquake. Now, another example, and I'm going to show you my nerd side just for a second here. The diameter of a certain hurricane was 30 miles. I'm sorry, the diameter of the eye of a certain hurricane was 30 miles. Okay, so the diameter is 30 miles. To the nearest square mile, I love that they said that this time. What is the area of the eye? Well, this is the diameter. We need just the radius. Just the radius is 15. Make sure that is something that you're paying attention to on whether it's diameter or radius, because radius is in the formula. Area equals pi times radius squared. So the radius of the eye of the hurricane. Now, nerd confession, I cannot even say eye of the hurricane anymore without thinking of the Hamilton song. So, area 3.14 times 15 squared. Okay. And here's where we use our tools effectively. 15 squared. So the area is 3.14 times 225. All right, so area equals 706.5. Now, a couple things on this one. It asks for to the nearest square mile, which means I need to round. So this is 707 miles squared. The eye of that hurricane, 707 square miles. Okay. Now, one of the things I wanted to remind you of, we've learned this before, but never a bad thing to see it again. If this had asked for in terms of pi, then my answer would have been 225 pi miles squared. I just wouldn't have used a value for pi. I would have left it as its symbol and been done with it. So anytime you see this phrase in terms of pi, please know that that's how you leave it. Just a reminder. Okay, and notice that when you go from these measurements, I mean, this is 15 miles, and then you take that in an entire area of a circle, 707 square miles. So yes, you should be expecting some larger numbers as your answers. Can't wait to see you guys again. Please try the practice problems that I set out for you, and I will see you in class.